BC Premier David Eby is on a trade mission to India. One, he says, is focused on relationship building, as Canada and India relations are thawing. Bilateral relations were frozen in 2023, following then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying there were credible allegations linking agents of the Indian government to the killing of a Sikh leader here in Canada. Now, Canada's new Prime Minister is looking to closen ties, announcing plans to negotiate a new Canada-India trade deal and accepting Prime Minister Narendra Modi's invitation to visit India early this year. All this while the courts are still determining what happened to Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. For more on this, I'm joined by Dinesh Patnaik, the High Commissioner of India to Canada. High Commissioner, it's good to meet you. Thanks for coming in today,
Thank you
sir.
for having me on the show.
Things are obviously changing in the relationship between Canada and India. BC Premier David Eby, he's in India right now on a trade mission. Scott Moe was there in November, and Tim Hodgson, we believe, is going at the end of this month, our Energy Minister. And the Prime Minister...
And the Speaker is going this week.
Okay, and the Prime Minister at some point later this year. So how should Canadians view where things stand in this relationship between Canada and India?
We're just catching up in this last 3 months and the next 3 to 6 months on what we should have been doing the last 2 years. There was a slight gap in our relations last 1.5 to 2 years. And so in a way we are catching up on where we had left off, which is high-level ministerial meetings to set the agenda rolling for what both the Prime Ministers agreed in Kananaskis when they met for the G7 meeting. And then further when they met for the G20 meeting in Johannesburg, the agreement they had to start negotiations on a comprehensive economic partnership agreement towards making the bilateral trade between both countries reach $50 billion US, which is about 70 billion Canadian dollars. So that's the agenda they have given to us. To fulfill that agenda, we have a host of visits. Like you said, Minister Tim Hodgson going for the India Energy Week, where we're going to discuss oil and gas, critical minerals, power, fertilizers, everything else. You have the Speaker going this week. You have our ministers for finance and commerce planning to come in the next few months. You will have the Prime Minister's visit soon after he comes back from China.
Do you know when that will be? When will the Prime Minister go to your country?
Probably, we're supposed to do it in the first quarter. Okay. We're looking at some stage after our budgetary process, which our budget is normally February. So end of February to end of March, between that, in the middle of March.
Okay, you said there's been a slight gap in relations. That's a bit of a euphemism for many of the things that have happened. I want to go through some of that in a minute, but I wonder, High Commissioner, how much of this reset is motivated by the disruption of the Trump administration in terms of what they have done with trade and economic reliability, and how much that has forced your country to reconsider some of its partnerships as it has Canada?
We can put a lot of reasons why the recalibration, but the biggest reason is both countries need each other. It's a relationship of two countries which actually are complementary economies. Economies where you have things which we need, we have things which you need. I mean, for example, simple examples. We have, you're a country of, you're the second largest country in the world with a 40 million population, 42 million population. You need at least about 100 million population. You need people to man many of your resources. We have the capacity, we have the intellect, we have the talent, we have the resources. We have not only, we are, even today, our bilateral trade, if you look at it, we are selling more to you than you are selling to us. But you have things which you want to buy. You have oil and gas, you have fertilizer, you have agri-food, you have lumber, you have uranium, you have energy resources, you have critical minerals. I can give you a host list of that. We have high talent discussing at the top level. You have academicians, scientists, engineers, everybody talking to each other, institutions talking to each other. This is a relationship which has a lot to offer to each other. I think both Prime Ministers recognize that. On top of it is this large diaspora. We have almost 3 million Indians here, about 2 million Indo-Canadians and another million Indians who are working in this country, both as students, which offer a large incentive to come and study here, and also professionals who are conducting professional service in banking, legal systems, accounting, IT, everything. So if you look at all this, both Prime Ministers are clear in their mind that this is a relationship where we both need to work together. So those are the other factors come in. But the main thrust is the fact that both Canada and India benefit from having a closer relationship.
So given those underlying incentives on both sides to have a tighter economic relationship, do you think it is possible to get the comprehensive economic partnership agreement by the end of this year, which I believe is part of the target set by Prime Ministers Modi and Kearney?
And we are going to work on that. You see, the advantage we have is that India has just finalized a few free trade agreements and comprehensive economic partnership agreements with Australia, UAE, UK, with the EFTA, with the European Free Trade Area. And we are almost finalizing with the EU. We are finalizing a deal with the US. We have a few more on the anvil. We are discussing with many other countries. Similarly, you have finalized one with Indonesia. You're discussing with the ASEAN. You're discussing with Philippines, with Thailand, with a few other, with COMESA. You have a few. So what has happened is we have moved forward from where we were 10 years ago. 10 years ago when we started the free trade agreements.
Right.
That time, Canada was a country which was the 10th largest economy in the world. We were the 11th largest economy in the world. Today, things have changed a bit. We are today the 4th largest economy in the world. You are still at 10th, I think. And we have become a 4 trillion plus, the 4th largest in the world. And so things have changed. We have moved forward on our positions a lot. And so both sides will be able to do things much faster because already the groundwork has been laid in the negotiations that we have held with other countries.
Well, the foundation of any good working relationship, economic and otherwise, is trust and good relations. And the gap that you talked about there, a big part of that were the allegations that former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made that there was credible information that agents of the Indian government were involved in the assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, the Sikh independence leader in British Columbia. This was backed up by the intelligence authorities here, by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. How do you move past that? I know there's been a conversation about resetting the law enforcement relationship. What has substantially changed in terms of law enforcement cooperation between the two countries?
Same thing. Exchange of information, telling each other what's happening, pre-warning people about incidents that are happening. For example, one of the few people whom we had warned about in Canada was caught in India when he went back because of information provided. Similarly, information of the lot of arrests that are happening here. So there is a lot of cooperation going on in every sector. What you said is important, rebuilding trust. And what you see, this plethora of meetings which has been taking place in the last 3 months and which are going to continue to take place in the next few months is about building up trust. And I think the trust has come back into the system. If you look at it, whichever meeting I have had, whether it's with the government in Ottawa, with the different ministries, departments, with the security agencies, whether it is with the provincial governments, whether it was the premiers, with their team, everybody else, there is a complete change in mentality. There is a feeling that there is an ability to trust each other to be able to do the right thing.
Right, but that's government to government, official to official, diplomat to diplomat, politician to politician. At the layers below that in society, I mean, when you go back to the foreign interference inquiry we had here, it concluded that India had meddled in Canadian elections. There were reports in November that the United Kingdom and Canada intercepted communications linking Amit Shah, who is your Minister of Home Affairs, to the assassination of Mr. Nijjar. How do you trust a country with evidence like that in the public domain?
Well, where is the evidence? Every time you keep on saying credible information, which is fine.
Well,
credible intelligence.
I'm quoting the RCMP and I'm quoting the Prime Minister, former
also,
Prime Minister.
A Prime Minister who's no more here there's a new Prime Minister who's changing the way Canada behaves in a much better way.
He has not repudiated what former Prime Minister Trudeau said.
Nor are we. We have always said it's preposterous and absurd. It's something we don't do. These are allegations which have not been backed by evidence. There's always easy to do accusations. Accusations are easy. I mean, if you look at the people whom you are accusing us of doing, look at the history, where has the investigation taken place? This investigation into the Air India bombing has still not yielded anything. Nothing has happened on the ground. We've been talking about terrorism in Canada for the last 40 years. What has anybody done about it? Not a single person has been convicted of it. That's a different matter.
But at no point was the government of Canada implicated in the Air India bombing.
You have accused us, but where have we been implicated? The case is going on in court, and the case in court is also against 4 individuals. Mm-hmm. Where is the case against state? It's a talk given by a former Prime Minister, backed by his team at that time, which they had to back. Where is the evidence on the ground?
Well, no, the RCMP doesn't necessarily back the Prime Minister of Canada. That's not the way the National Police Force works.
Exactly,
here, right?
same day.
But they are still, there was a Sikh activist by the name of Inderjit Singh Gosal who was told by the RCMP that his life was in danger, and they offered him witness protection. And
I did not see the RCMP ever saying that. RCMP said they arrested him for misuse of guns. The other side said they gave him protection. I have never seen the RCMP say that. See, we can go into who said what. At the end of the day, it's about evidence on the ground. You have a case going on in Surrey, which says very clearly against 4 individuals. There is no case against the Government of India. Government of India does not do such actions, never.
There is also an indictment filed.
And what we have said very clearly, if there is evidence ever coming out, if you provide us evidence, we will take actions ourselves. We don't need, if it's our people who are ever involved in these kind of things, we will take action ourselves. We don't need you to take action on that. What we need is for you to give us evidence for us to take action. What happened in the US case is the same thing. The US gave us evidence of complicit of some of the individuals. We are working with them.
Right, but in that indictment, which I've read, this is about the attempt to murder a high-level member of the World Sikh organization, or Sikhs for Justice. I can't remember which organization off the top of my head. But this was intercepted by an undercover drug informant. The Drug Enforcement Agency got involved. There were apparently video conferences with a member of the Indian government at some level, because it's not identified in the indictment. So this does show an involvement at some level. I'm just...
No, let me make it clear. We have indictment, we have something called unlawful laws, lawful activities, in which we proscribe people who we think are terrorists here. When we provide the information to the Canadian side that these are terrorists which are active in Canada, the Canadian side, there is not enough evidence for us to take action against them. That has been told to us for the last 40 years.
When you ask them to crack down on
Canada to crack down on terrorists.
Right.
The Canadians tell us there's not enough evidence to take action against them. When similarly the Canadians tell us that we suspect this, we tell them, give us the evidence. If you give us evidence, we'll take action. If you can tell me I don't have enough evidence for people who later on you have found out were involved in terrorist activities, at that time you said no. At that time you allowed we had warned you before, allowed the bombs to be kept on the Air India planes, which killed 329 Canadians, if you forget, which killed 2 people at Narita Airport. Later on, the same group has kept on doing what? They have kept on glorifying assassinations, glorifying suicide bombers, putting out hate crime, putting out all the negative things that you can think of. When we say these are the people who are doing it, people who were caught recently, who were doing activities in Canada, there was this thing said that there's not enough evidence in the past, not now.
Well,
and then the same thing here.
Right.
When you accuse us, what happens here is my accusations need evidence. Your accusations don't need evidence, right?
Well, first, I want to clarify. These are not my allegations.
Same thing.
Understood.
I just want to clarify.
No,
when you have accusations, you have to back it up with evidence. You can't say, I accuse you, and you have to now justify yourselves. What is a simple thing in law? Law is innocent until proven guilty.
Yes, but...
So let's take the law into its place. Let's not make accusations
that, but some of the activities, in my conversations with law enforcement in Canada, some of the activities that the government of India has complained about are not necessarily crimes in Canada in some cases, the holding of referendums and different things like this.
We never said holding of referendum is crime. We said the people involved in it are people who are wanted in India for crimes, or who are doing terrorist activity abroad. We were told these people are not. Till they found out, yes, he was caught in gun running.
I don't know if you have an extradition, but I don't know if you have an extradition treaty with India, but then you can make a request under extradition,
right? We have made 29 people for 29 people. The same thing is told to us, that the evidence is not sufficient. So what I'm saying is, when I accuse you and you tell me evidence is not enough, I agree with it. And I said, yes, you are telling me evidence is not enough. When I find evidence, I'll give it to you. When you accuse me and I tell you evidence is not enough, please accept it with the same alacrity as with which we have.
But there is a difference, would you not agree, High Commissioner, that you as a country saying these people, these are individuals who are wanted, going the other way, it's about the activities of the state of India. It's about allegations about the government of India. This is why they had the big meeting when Mike Duhem and other senior people shared their information with your government.
I am saying government of India never does something. If there are people in government of India who have done it and you give us evidence, we will take action against them. We have never said otherwise.
Right. Well, I mean, as you can see, there's a lot of in that gap. There was a lot of issues that have built up in that time. So as a final point, as things move to reset,
it's actually moved beyond reset. Now it's actually a much better place.
But where do you hope this is by the end of the year then, on the economic side? Because everybody is looking to diversify their economic relations because of what the United States is doing, because of challenges with China. Where do you think Canada and India will be at the end of 2026?
What we've been telling for a long time, which is multi-alignment, is that you align with every country in the world, you talk with every other country, because at the end of the day, large countries need the world to work with them. Same now, every other country is realizing that. You talk about variable geometry in Canada. So what we are looking at the end of the year is, by the end of the day, if we can have the CEPA, or at least be near signing a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, put forward all the different sectors that we are working on, all the economic sectors, whether we work on trade, on energy, on fertilizers, on agri-food, on innovation, on R&D, on Mode 4, on movement of people, on mobility, on automobiles, on aerospace, defense, all the sectors that we are working on. If we can move the envelope forward and be at a better, much higher place than what we are now, we have achieved enough. That's how governments function. Governments take forward the necessity action to get economic benefit for the people as much as they can. And that's what we are working on.
Hi, Commissioner Dinesh Patnaik. It was good to meet you, sir. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for taking my questions today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.